Back at home, feeling misunderstood, and between these ears ain't nothing good.
Let's start getting into the recap of the sports because there's a ton of sports to talk about.
We'll dive into the actual game.
We'll talk about the games because I actually recorded it and watched it back so that I can be very prepared for this because I know I'm going to be talking about it almost the entire episode on Two for Chirping. But let's start. We'll get the NFL free agency and MLB free agency out of the way first because we have tons to get to in the NHL and the NBA. We didn't get to. We recorded before this trade actually happened. Indianapolis and Philly traded Wentz for second or third rounder, conditional second rounder for next year, and then
which the second rounder can turn into the first if he plays 75%
or makes the playoffs with Indianapolis. So
which is a good shot there. That it'll be that
more interesting because of the incentives. Normally, you're trading a guy like that. Everybody knows Wentz had one of the worst years of a quarterback anybody. He should have got benched probably 4 weeks sooner than he did. It was not good. And this coming from a guy who was an MVP candidate up until week 11 2 years ago.
The Eagles team that won the Super Bowl, he was MVP candidate before he got hurt.
They don't make it to the Super Bowl if he's not playing a majority.
They don't make the playoffs. Well, than that,
So it's not like he's that far away from winning. I see this as 2 out of 3 parties are winners. I think Philadelphia, I don't really see them winning out of this other than getting Carson Wentz, who's going to be a cancer in the locker room, out of the city. I see Indianapolis winning because, yes, you're committing a lot of money to him this year, but if he comes in and he's not the quarterback that you think he's going to be, if Frank Reich's not able to resurrect his career like everybody is assuming he's going to be able to do, you can cut him next year and you're not taking a whole bunch of money. If you cut him this year, it's like a $26 million cap hit. It's just dead money against the cap.
Well, the Eagles are paying most of his salary as it is.
Yeah, they are playing. That's what I was listening to the local sports station, their morning show, because they were talking about possibly envying the Colts. Because a lot of people were still thinking Carson Wentz was going to be worth a first round pick. That's why a lot of people, I think, stayed away from him. But it's conditional. It's an interesting situation because there were the asking price, what ended up being the actual price for him on the market. A lot more teams should have been interested. The Broncos have been rumored to not be interested at all.
Thank God.
I think the Bears probably weren't nearly as in. They could have, but they're not really. They weren't really into the sweepstakes at all. And I see this as a win for Carson Wentz because he gets to start over with the coach that he had the most success under. Because that 2017 season, Frank Reich was the quarterback coach. So there's good in this. I just see it being difficult for Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia. This is the Jalen Hurts show now. I mean, I hope to God they don't draft a quarterback because honestly, there's a good shot they probably do. I hope they don't because I think Jalen Hurts had a great end of the year last year. He deserves a shot at being the head coach, the quarterback there. But, I mean, this Eagles team, you're in rebuild now mode. That second and third round pick, if it doesn't turn out to be a first, that's more help. That's exactly how you get it. You get a 2-for-1 players. Jalen Hurts now is your solidified number 1 QB.
Then you gotta hope that they actually hit on some of these draft picks because they were sitting in a spot where they could have drafted Justin Jefferson or Mims
or Chase Claypool,
and they drafted Jalen Reagor, who wasn't. Jalen Reagor is John Ross, just not as fast.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he was.
Yeah, the Eagles are. I mean, like the Colts are the greatest situation they can be. Like you said, you're not paying a salary. If he sucks, he sucks. Then you just move on to next season or whatever. You already have a playoff team.
If he sucks, you're going to get a good draft pick and draft a quarterback.
And you're going to be able to have a chance also to still be in the playoff picture. It's not like Philip Rivers was this great quarterback last year. No. He struggled at times. And if Carson Wentz can play anywhere to where Philip Rivers did last year, then this team's still a playoff team. This team is still a playoff team.
Wentz is twice as talented as Philip Rivers.
Yeah,
and if Frank Reich is able to do what everybody thinks he's going to do and wants him to do, he's going to be that offense becomes very dangerous.
The only thing that's just a head scratcher for me is Wentz was arguing that he didn't have help in Philly. Honestly, the Colts don't have a ton. T.Y. Hilton has had a few bad years. The only thing they have around him is a good running back core.
And an offensive line.
An offensive line
that is not going to have him get the shit kicked out of him for 16 weeks.
That is true. The offensive line will help him stay upright, but you got to have some receivers. Pittman didn't get a whole lot of PT last year. Hopefully he's able to stick up to that number because he's not giving up to Wentz. But hopefully he comes into his form, but they're going to need to get more help outside of T.Y. Hilton.
I think that's exactly what they're going to do in the first round, especially now. they were either going to try and move somewhere to get a quarterback because they needed a quarterback with Brissett leaving in free agency and just having Jacob Eason on the roster. It's not going to get it done. So they needed a guy that can be the bridge for this year, and then they can build some talent around him offensively. It's similar to what the Broncos did a couple of years ago, where when they did draft Noah Fant in the first round, they brought in a guy that could be a placeholder, and that's kind of what they did. I see this as a placeholder move, and then if it works out, then you're just rebuilding that offense other places. That's what is going to happen.
Because you're like you said, you're loaded at the running back position. You're loaded up front. Worst case scenario is Wentz is handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor.
You're loaded
and
on
Marlon Mack.
defense.
Yeah, and your defense is fine. So the worst case scenario, you rely on your run game to win you games, and Carson Wentz won't have to do everything like they were expecting him to do in Philly.
All you need to do is exist in those 3 seconds between the snap and you handing Jonathan Taylor the
Just
ball.
make sure they get the ball. That's all.
That's all. Put it in the breadbasket. MLB free agency, we have another Bobby Bonilla deal because Bobby Bonilla will still be getting paid longer than Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yep.
But the Padres rolled out a giant check, which it seems giant in
It's
the grand
really
scheme.
not a giant check.
You look at it broken down.
It's terrible.
It's not good. He's gonna be this solidified. He's gonna be a New York Yankee at some point down the line because the Padres have 3 guys that are $300 million players. Machado, I don't know the other guys. Maybe
Is it Snell? Maybe?
it might be Snell.
Snell.
And then now Fernando Tatis is over the $300 million mark, but they're gonna run out of money for at least one of them, possibly 2. And you know that the Yankees and Dodgers are gonna soak up, and the Padres are a team that they won't trade in division. That's just not something that they do. So he's not going to the Dodgers. Tatis is gonna be finishing
Well,
out
I mean,
this
they did
contract.
do that
in
with
New York.
Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez was so far past
Yeah,
his
that's true.
prime.
That's true.
They're gonna.
Well, it could be Tatis in year 8 or 9.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be year 8 or 9. I think it's gonna be. He's for sure gonna be in San Diego for at least another 4 years. I'll give him 3.5, maybe 4. At that point, I think that the Padres are going to have no money left to pay anybody, and they're going to need to move him. And a team that can absorb a contract like that are the Yankees and the Dodgers. That's who. I just think
It's just ridiculous that he's getting paid. I think it's around $24 million a year, and that salary cap, just for reference, but he is getting paid less than Buddy Hield on the Kings, who is a role player on a terrible team in basketball. Fernando Tatis is one of the most exciting players in baseball, and yes, okay, don't get me wrong, he probably came off with the worst coming ups. He did not have a great probably life before baseball before he made it big. So there's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but this kid should be being paid at least $50 million a year, not half of that.
he should have waited. He shouldn't have signed the contract.
He should have been like, you know what? I don't want 10 years. Give me 6 years, $314 million, and I still have more money, and it's still pay off. You still give me for my whole prime, and it still works out for both teams.
Yeah.
Because by year 10, I can't. I'm trying to think. The last time I remember a full 10-year contract was Ilya Kovalchuk with the Devils, way back when, and he played 2 years and then went back to Russia.
Yeah. Well,
and then he came back and wasn't even part of the Devils. The Devils were still paying him. Obviously Tatis is worth all that money, but he could have been paid more and could have worked out better for both sides. Because now both Tatis and the Padres are stuck. Because 6 years from now, if the Padres don't have a ring, which is very likely because you're playing the same division as the
I don't
Padres.
think that this really gives them the oomph to get a ring.
If they're like, maybe this is a deal to try to clear up salary cap for those other players, which I don't really understand.
I think they just used their entire salary.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just weird. Like you said, they're still the second best team in this division, just because the Dodgers. I mean, it's one of those things where if Tatis can get you over the hump of Dodgers, it's worth it. But that's if he can do that.
Yeah, and I really think that everybody who's trying to go after the Dodgers needs to bolster their pitching because we know that the Dodgers.
I mean, the Padres did that though. Padres did do that with
Yeah.
Darvish, Snell. I think they added one more pitcher. I can't. But they had like 10 different signings this offseason. So it's not like they're gearing up for it.
Overperformed to me last year, and I didn't think that Machado was going to have that big of an effect, and he proved me wrong. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't like the guaranteed contracts, especially for the only guy that deserved the $13 million or the 13-year, $400 million contract was Mike Trout.
Yes,
he's the only guy that you should be paying that much money for that long. Like we said, Bobby Bonilla is still going to be.
Like it made a little bit of difference.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad that they ended up not playing with the sun because they mentioned it. Grubauer would have had the sun twice, but he looked kind of.
I mean, those shades is funny.
He was
Those shades
stunned
is
in
funny.
those. He was stunned in those shades. Not quite as good as Pasta. Because,
No, better because it was under a goalie mask.
I don't
I
know.
thought that was pretty sick.
Pasta had the pink pit vipers though.
That's true. That's true.
And he's Pasta.
Yeah.
He's the best sniper in the game right now.
And one of the best nicknames of the game.
Yeah, and he was in a Dunkin' Donuts commercial during the bubble.
Also true. Yeah, I mean,
He's not a good actor.
Yeah.
So second period, like we said, 8 hours and 23 minutes in between.
It was
the
going to
two.
take time for both teams to get settled in. Like it wasn't a situation where the Avs, I believe, had like a 9-second power play to start the second period.
They
And-
were down. Or they
they
had the
the
9-second
second power play, and then we got down 5-on-3 at one point, which was a great power play kill.
Oh, Ryan Graves had 2 huge blocks. I'm going to talk about that later.
I mean,
on
the
in
Avs,
episode.
the Avs penalty kill thus far this year, one of the best in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's been rolling thus far, and hopefully it keeps going because that's a big kudos not only to the back end but Grubauer as well. Grubauer has been solid night in night out. The one thing that's going to be the backbone is the second goalie. We all know when it comes to playoffs, Grubauer is going to be in the net every single night. That's just the way it goes. But one of the things that's hurt us in years past is that we made him play all these games because we didn't have a solidified backup to make those back-to-back nights so much easier. And we gotta have Grubauer for the long haul because when he is rolling, he is very, very tough to beat. But now you've got to have a little bit of help. It's like a closer in baseball. You don't want to throw your closer out there every single night if you're winning every single game. You got to have somebody to give your closer a little bit of relief off his arm. Well, you got to give Grubauer a night off here and there to help get him some rest so he can play the whole season and then extend to the playoffs. Grubauer was on his heels and playing outstanding night in, night out. I'm very close to getting a Grubauer Nordiques jersey. We can discuss about it a little bit later, but that's because I'm so high up on Grubauer because I think he just slept on. He was a big piece of that Capitals team that won the cup not too long ago.
He needs somebody behind him like he was in the Capitals Cup.
When he was behind Holtby,
Yeah.
exactly.
He
has
was that guy.
Yeah, he was that guy for them, and now he has that role. You got to have that second guy, whether it be Francois getting back healthy or Miska getting into form. I think there's another one.
We might need to do a free agency thing for goaltending.
And it can't be. I don't want it to be a huge swing. I don't want it to be. We don't need another starter. We need another solid guy behind him. Francois was that last year, but we got to have both of them healthy.
Yeah, it would be so much nicer to have a Lehner, Andre Fleury situation than a Grubauer, Miska, or Francouz situation.
Yeah.
I would much rather have the prior than the latter. So the former than the latter, if I can get my idioms correct. In the third period, I think what we saw, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this was that we were very physical at the blue line.
Yes.
And that's
without even EJ.
Yeah, and that's always been my thing, is that the Avalanche were good winning Stanley Cups because they had Ray Bourque, they had Adam Foote, they had guys, and Peter Forsberg was a bag of knuckles on the front end, but they had guys at the blue line where if you wanted to get back to the psycho in between the pipes that was Patrick Waugh, you're going to have to go through two guys that'll bite your head off too.
Yeah, you have to get through some dogs.
They are starting to get to that point. I really like Taves. Taves started off
most
slow with
underrated
him.
pickup of the season, of the offseason.
And he's got a cannon of a shot. Him
Oh,
and Makar
nice.
have two of the most dynamic shots and
It's a wrist shot too, just
Yeah.
a flick of the wrist that just rockets there. From blue line all the way to the net, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, I think they did score a top of the circle goal. One of them got past Fleury. It's just it was a good situation to see all around on Saturday night, especially given the adversity, because that was my other concern, is that they have all the hype, and then when they get hit with this little bit of adversity, I want to see them come back, because this is the first year that they're really being talked about in the national media. I mean, I listen to the NHL's hockey podcast every week, and they are mentioned every single week as a cup contender. That's, in my lifetime, I wasn't around for when they were that way in the late 90s, early 2000s. This is the first time where I can remember people going, yeah, the Avalanche are cup contenders. And
I mean, it's not even like we're good this year. It's win now mode. Obviously, it is win now mode for us because we have.
I want to get as many out of this championship.
We have
as
such
possible.
high expectations, but all these dudes are under 30 years old. It's not like we have a bunch of 35-year-old guys who are trying to get a cup at the end of their career.
Pittsburgh.
All these young guys are just rolling and are hungry. Yeah, Pittsburgh and San Jose at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys are young and hungry, and they're just hitting their peaks. McKinnon, we were seeing one of McKinnon's best years of his career. Cale Makar, we haven't seen his full potential, but Mikko Rantanen has just getting to form too. Landeskog has been around the longest, and he is doing everything he can do. He's not expected to score goals, but he's doing what he can. Kadri has gotten into his role. Bellemare, I mean, all these...
Bellemare, Burakovsky is a former Stanley Cup champion. Yeah. They're top to bottom. They have probably the most depth, especially, I mean, yes, we talk about them being healthy, but even when they're not, they're really... We mentioned it against McKinnon when McKinnon went down against the Wild. They scored 30 seconds after McKinnon went down. It's not like when McKinnon's not out there, they're not going to be able to score.
It's just a shark tooth mentality. Next man up. Look, Joe Sakic, I'll keep saying he's an absolute genius. This roster was built for, I'm not saying built for the pandemic like that, but like built for injuries or like scenarios where you won't have the full team. Because there's dudes on the Colorado Eagles or dudes that don't get the whole play time necessarily night in, night out that the big stars do that can step in and still get good production from.
Oh, they got a great farm system going. They have the best farm system in Colorado.
By far the best farm system.
Yeah, we don't have to keep mentioning that. One thing I do want, I want that jacket that Bednar was wearing.
I knew you were gonna say that. I don't know how, but I remember watching it. I was like, oh my god, Jimmy is gonna buy that off Fanatics. Go to Fanatics, use the deal. But I was like, Jimmy's gonna buy that right away right now.
Oh, I'd buy it off of his back, and I don't even like Bednar. But I'll give him one thing. He might be. I don't like him as a head coach. He is the most stylish head coach in the
Oh my god!
Especially compared to the Vegas coach, who's balding and just sitting there fat in his little Letterman jacket, and Bednar's like, yeah, no, I salt and pepper my hair.
He's got the touch of gray, just flow with the curls.
He looks exactly like American Psycho. Every morning I wear an ice pack on my face for 20 to 35 minutes to reduce swelling. And then it's bad, but yeah, he looked good on the bench. I guess that's all you can ask for in your.
The team's playing well.
The team is playing
well, so that does add to it. Obviously, there's enough talent to help, but the team is winning games, so it's all that matters.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the other? Because
I didn't really watch it. Besides the walkout, what the Bruins are wearing, and those '90s outfits, those are pretty sick. We might have to have a promo with that on.
Well, didn't tell you. I'm in the market for a pair of Pit Vipers.
Hey, just go to eBay. You can find some fake ones that look. That's what I got. Fake ones that work.
I don't want the fake ones. I want the black with the gold Pit Viper.
Okay.
With the all black ones.
Okay.
Those are the ones I'm looking at. Let's talk about the division standings a little bit because we are a quarter of the way through the season. Not the Avs notwithstanding, but they're 2 points behind the Golden Knights. Are probably going to be down.
with missing 5 games, 6 games.
Yeah, they're 1 game. They've played 1 less game than Vegas. They played 3 less than St. Louis. They're probably going to go down 4 points to Vegas tonight, but they'll have a chance to make it back up. Like we said, they're split with those. I see them being 1 or 2, and it's going to be 1 or 2 with Vegas and Colorado. St. Louis, they got out to a bigger lead and they had more points because they played more games, but they struggle. They just got beat by San Jose, I think, at home the other night. So it's not.
On Saturday night, we watched. I'm going to tell you right now, the 2 best teams in hockey.
Yeah.
I think Vegas and Colorado are 2 of the best teams in hockey. On the East right now, I think you got to throw Toronto in there. You got to throw Boston in there, Philly as well. But right now, I think it's going to be either Vegas or it's going to be Colorado winning the cup.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be 1 of 2. I think that's going to be the Western Conference Finals, and it's going to be one of those 2 moving on to the finals and winning it. Because what we saw on Saturday is some of the most high up-tempo, paced hockey you'll see all year. Mm-hmm. Like what we saw, those 2 teams competing. I mean, the past week they've been battling against one another, and it's going to end up being 2-2, and it's rightly so because both these teams are just nitty gritty, and they're a bunch of dogs that want it.
Yeah, neither team when they're on the ice, neither team takes over and dominates. Mm-hmm. There's teams that play better for stretches, but it's not like you're not getting 10-0 runs like in a basketball game. In these 2, they're legitimate. They're fighting like Mexican boxers, where they're in the middle and they're not moving their feet. They're just going to try and find an opening. I don't have a problem with it. I said it on the blogs that we've been writing for the Unhinged Sports Network. I said 3 out of the 4 best teams in the league are playing this weekend in Boston, Colorado, and Vegas, and I stand by that statement. That perfection line for Boston, well, we can mention that because I've had the on 2 for Chirping in the preseason rankings. I ranked Boston at 6th. Because I thought losing Chara was going to hurt. I was wrong.
It really didn't. Chara is definitely...
Chara was dead weight.
Yeah.
I realize that now. I've had that take even I said that take on this show when it first started, when we were watching the Tampa Bay Boston playoff series, and you could just tell Tampa Bay was so much faster than them on the back end. They've kind of fixed that now, and Bergeron, as much as I hate to say it, Marchand and
Marchand did have a hilarious clapback though on Twitter.
I don't like Marchand because he's a dirty player. By the way, Vegas had 2 dirty hits that didn't get called. They threw legitimate elbows, and I'm kind of salty about that.
It's hockey though for you. If we would have done that, I mean, it's just the way it was against our team. It's how hockey is. But the Marchand tweet on Twitter, I got a comment about because there was a guy out there that was chirping at him for, I think he was either losing Sunday or losing a day before, or 2 days before, and the guy was like, yeah, Marchand has been crap all year. He hasn't done much to this team. Blah blah blah. And then Marchand sent a tweet out saying that you're sitting your ass at home while I'm flying on my private Lear jet. And the guy said, don't you know how to use commas in your tweets? He was like, I got enough commas in my bank account. You dumb pigeon. And I was like, well, that's as good a backslap you can get.
There we go. He's a jerk on the ice. He's a jerk off the ice, but he is playing. That perfection line is probably the best line.
Oh, not yet. No. Look.
Who's the better line?
It's Avs when they're going, but they don't put the Avs out there to all three together because of the depth they have. Because Landeskog can be that good, but Burakovsky is no slouch when they alternate him and Landy together.
Oh, trust me, Burakovsky's my preseason pick for Conn Smythe. I understand that. I don't points, just statistics that they've been putting up and the amount of games that they've played together. The perfection line's the best line in hockey. And the fact that they play all the time together.
Yeah, that's the only reason why it's because they play together all the time. Because Boston, because they know what they can get from that line constantly. The Avs know what they can get from that top line, but they know what they can get from the second line too as well.
I will say this: the Avalanche are more likely to score at any point in the game. You know that the Bruins are only scoring when that line is on the ice.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it. When they didn't have them, they couldn't score an even strength goal. Mm-hmm. Their power play is probably their offensive power play is as good as the Avs' defensive power play, and I really do. I agree with you. I think that it's probably going to be Colorado or Boston or Vegas and Boston in the Stanley Cup final. It was just funny because when Jim was the guest on Two for Chirping, we were talking about that, and then we'd have the baseball show the week after, and it would be kind of awkward because we'd both be a little bit. If the Bruins win, I'll be really salty. I might be drunk on the show. If it goes the other way, he'll be the one in that position. But I do think
you'll be drunk either way because we'll be at a parade.
I'll go to a virtual parade, or we could just
to the actual parade.
I don't know if there's no parade. Then how are we gonna?
We do what they did in Tampa. We do it on a mountain. We have them ski down a mountain with all like the little on the snowmobiles. Oh, that'd be sick.
There we go.
On snowmobiles? Okay, that'd be cool. Wouldn't that be cool?
And then we send the Stanley Cup off one of the ramps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. That's what we're hoping for. We're planning on it. We have money on the fact that that's what we're going to be doing come springtime. Mm-hmm. Let's get into the NBA. And I don't know. I'll let you take control of this because I don't know any of the topics that we're going to be talking about.
First of all, on Saturday let's see, what night was it? Saturday night before the Avs game when it was at midnight Eastern, the Warriors Hornets game. We got to talk about this. Good Lord, Draymond. First of all, I had a parlay this weekend that was one miss away, and it was fucking Warriors. I had a chance for a $70 parlay to hit, and the Warriors lost. So what happened? 9 seconds left in the game. There was a jump ball. After the jump ball, Draymond's on the floor with Gordon Hayward, and Gordon Hayward has the ball, calls a timeout. Well, Draymond thought it was another jump ball. So he gets up, gets to the ref's face, chirps, yells, at the top of his lungs, gets double teed, and let me remind you, the score is 198. So the Hornets are down by 2. Double teed, Hornets go to line, get 2, and then hit a game winner directly after. Draymond, that is the first time, or not the first. This is the most recent time that I can remember a single player single-handedly losing a game. Because you had the lead in your hands, even if the Hornets had the ball there, you don't be an idiot and double technical. Because that's where it just falls into play where the Hornets still have to make a basket. They either win the game or you go to overtime and you play on for another 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, if you don't give up the technical free throws, they have to make the game-tying basket and you go into overtime.
Exactly. Like, it makes it so much more difficult, and it was one of the stupidest things in the world. And Draymond's been taking heat all week because he had those comments about Drummond and him not playing. and that whole situation because they're trying to trade him, and same with Blake Griffin. So it's a whole mess. He was pissed about that because he doesn't believe that's right. Players seem to be the scapegoats when they want to get traded, but when the team wants to trade them, they don't play them. They don't get
Does
traded.
he ever stop running his mouth?
He really doesn't. He was blessed by two of the greatest shooters of all time.
Yeah, I don't even
He was
know.
blessed
I don't
by-
even know a good comparison
He-
for
he-
who
he-
would
like-
have been.
Like
Is he
people-
J.R. Smith? Is he J.R. Smith?
No. People compare him to Dennis Rodman because, but Rodman was good in Detroit. Like he was a solid player in Detroit.
Also-
When he went to Chicago, yes, he was the third option besides Scotty and MJ, but he still was a good player.
They
Draymond, if you put him on a team with no one around him,
Yeah.
he's not winning you games. I'll tell you that by himself.
No, but I think also Rodman. They don't win six. They don't three-peat twice if Rodman's not on the Bulls.
Yeah.
He brought that extra edge. He brought the edge
Well,
that
Dray-
they
Dray-
needed
yeah.
to beat Detroit.
Yeah, Draymond brings that edge to the team,
But it's not needed, and
but
it's
yeah.
not the same edge because he's whining. Like
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman didn't whine. Dennis Rodman might cost you a game because he decided to take a trip to Vegas 24
yeah.
hours before the game, but he's not going to be on the court getting you a double technical foul and then giving up the game that way. That's not what he's going to be doing. That's why I don't see.
It just pissed me off because I lost my parlay and that was the last leg of it.
I was going to say
That
you got
hurt
upset
more.
that the Warriors lost.
Yeah. That
I mean, you
that's
might
just-
be upset that LaMelo won.
I mean, it was a great game winner by Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier's been balling, and Charlotte seems to be like a playoff team, which is weird to say. Michael Jordan finally hit on a good rookie for the first time in his general manager career. As great of a player was, he is one. Oh God, this is gonna come back to bite me in the ass. He is one of the worst GMs in basketball history. Tell you that right now, because what he is, whether it be the Bobcats, which you've probably never heard of,
I knew the Bobcats.
The Bobcats were god awful. They still over.
Didn't he play for them a couple of years?
No. He played for the Wizards.
Oh,
But the Bobcats have the record for the worst record in NBA history. They didn't win 10 games. They only won 9. So that was way back when. And then they moved they got the name Hornets back, and ever since then he's finally hit on LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball seems like a stud. He's much better than both his brothers. And now there's some glimmer of hope in Charlotte for the first time since I don't remember how long.
I can't disagree with you. I think that they're on a new wave, and I think they're in a good place as a franchise. And he's probably the John Elway of NBA.
Great
GMs.
player. God awful GM.
Yeah, that's one thing.